I love patient care even, which is why I did want to be a clinical specialist. No matter how much effort you put in, you're only going to make so much. And so I always kind of saw that glass ceiling, and I just wanted better for myself and my family.
You had life happen to you during this process, but not once did you just give up. Now we know, because we talked about it, is you're going to have more free time, aka a better work-life balance. Now you have the financial, the capital to go do some of the things that you really enjoyed.
From my OT background, the anatomy, the physiology, all of the clinical stuff, then putting it into application as to how I'm going to be a good fit, because now I've done all of this research. I know a lot about your company. I know a lot about the device. Here's why I'm going to be a really good fit here.
Talk is cheap. You guys that are on the other side of this are going to be like, well, I'm a hard worker. Great. What have you done to show that? Oh, I'm organized. Great. What have you done to show that?
Because there's a bunch of different courses out there. But the beauty of yours is that you can do it with a full working life schedule, and you can just make it work for wherever you're at in life. I mean, the whole course it literally spells it all out. Everything literally just happened exactly how you said.
Absolutely crushed it. And the thing I want you guys to hear about that is, welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today we get to bring you a very special guest, somebody who has been in the healthcare world, but was working as an occupational therapist and wanted to just make a change in their life. And so I am so excited to bring you all a New to Medical Device Sales member, Lara Bartrum, who was able to break in at well over 6 figures with a great medical device sales company as a clinical specialist. And she's going to come and share some of her insights, her tips to you all, because we talk to so many SLPs, OTs, PTs, nurses, and we want you to all know it is possible. So Lara, welcome to the podcast.
Yay. Thanks so much for having me on.
We are so excited to have you on because I know this is going to help a lot of people out, but the reason I was so excited to have you on is because the amount of times you would get on our office hour calls and you're in the clinic and you have your headphones in and you're still in your scrubs. And we even talked, and one of the things that we're going to have you kind of introduce yourself and do a little more. But the thing that I just loved about you was you had life happen to you during this process. And not once did you be like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, that. You might have to take a little break for a second. But not once did you just give up. And then now, my favorite part is now we know, because we talked about it, is you're going to have more free time, aka a better work-life balance. You're going to make way more money. And you're now going to be able to also go pursue some dreams that you and I talked about off air of now you have the financial, the capital to go do some of the things that you really enjoyed. And so that's why I know the listeners are going to get so much from you because of just your effort and how you did it. But before we go into all of that, can you just give a little summary of who you are, what you were doing before this, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was an OT for 8 years, and I kind of had been in all types of leadership positions. So I had been OT lead, I had been a manager, a supervisor, I had been acting director for a while. All great things. Love OT. I love patient care even, which is why I did want to be a clinical specialist, but I just always kind of saw that glass ceiling. And you put in so many hours as a therapist, and no matter, we call it like sweat equity. No matter how much effort you put in, you're only going to make so much. And so I always kind of saw that glass ceiling, and I just wanted better for myself and my family. That's really why I decided to pursue this.
And I absolutely love that, because what most people don't understand is why I always connected with you and like our OTs is I was accepted into 3 occupational therapy schools. That was the route. One of my best videos that ever I put on YouTube was the reason I decided not to go to OT school. And I still get people who message me and I'm like, I didn't go. So the reason I'm just saying that is because, just like you said, we talk to a lot of people in the physical therapy, speech language pathology, the occupational therapy, which a lot of these people don't even know what that is. But you guys are in such a cool realm of like, first off, the thing I love about all of you guys is you actually care about people. Because you can't go into those professions not caring about human beings. You're literally going and you're like, I'm deciding to help people's lives get better, whether it's having them walk again, be able to swallow after strokes, like whatever it is, be able to use their hands, like all the fine motor skills and gross motor skills. It's amazing. But on top of that, exactly what you said is I remember I was going into school, and like the reason I tell people I didn't go is it was the 3 offers I got was $70,000, $100,000, and $140,000 in debt for 2 to 3 years. And then from there, I was like, okay, so I would have came out at that time. I was 22. I would have came out and I was like, at 25, I'm making 65, 70K. I got to pay this off. What do I have to pay to pay it off in 10 years? Because that's how my
Right.
brain worked. And then I was like, okay, so if I lived basically as a poor human being, paid $3,000 to $5,000 a month in my student loans, by the time I'm 30, 35, I would pay that off. And I was like, oh, but that doesn't factor in buying a house, buying a car, buying anything else. And I'm like, now I'm 35, still in the, you know what I mean? I put that out there, not to deter anyone if you guys are looking at it. It's great specialties, but also just like, that was why I didn't go. And the reason I say that is I understand why every single PT, OT, SLP I get on with, why you guys are there, is because it's all, you work hard, you're hourly usually working, and then you can only work more hours to get it. And then most of the time, unless you've been in for 10, 20 plus years, or you're in California and that $120,000 is like the equivalent of $80,000. Like normally you're going to probably cap out at between $100,000 and $130,000, which again, not going into too much detail, but you're living a pretty good life now. And so the reason I just sit here and say that for everybody is that is why we get so many OTs, PTs, SLPs that want to come here. But can you personally, Lara, like you saw the glass ceiling, right? But what made you start thinking about medical device sales? What got you into the world of like, hey, I think I want to do medical device sales? And when you started even exploring that, was it just like, hey, a couple months, or was it like, no, I've always thought of medical sales? Like what did that look like for you?
I actually had a pretty unique experience. So my husband was military. We moved around the country quite a bit. And one of my favorite trauma hospitals that I worked at, they brought in a new neurosurgery team. And that neurosurgery team did a lot of awake craniotomy assessments where they wanted a therapist to go in while they were doing tumor removal with these awake patients. And they wanted a therapist to go in and test with them their motor and physical and sensory abilities to make sure they weren't cutting into healthy brain tissue. Mm-hmm. So I worked really, really hard because I wanted to be the person to do that. I got to be the person to do that. So I just loved being in that environment. I got to know the reps, I got to know the surgeons, and I was like, this is what I want to do. It totally lit a fire in me. And I wanted that to be my job. I wanted to do it all the time, every day. So, being in military is really hard because you're constantly moving around. I think we were in for 8 years and we moved to a different state every single year. Yeah. So I knew that was going to be hard, but I kind of always told myself that when we were settled down, that med device is something I wanted to pursue.
Love it.
So that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And so I was always listening to podcasts, and yours came up, and I listened to like all of your free stuff that you had on YouTube, and yours just kind of became one of my favorite ones to listen to because it was so raw and so real because you were going through it at the time. Yeah. And so you could just like hear the emotions in your voice too, of like when you're having a good day, when you were frustrated. Like I just really liked that a lot. We moved down here to Florida. We were settled for about a year. And I said, we have a really good support system. I have a whole family. We have a daughter, and, we now have a 17-year-old too. Yeah. That's a whole different story, but life happens. So we have a great support system. Yeah. And I jumped into it, both feet. So it's what I really wanted to do.
Well, I'll just sit here and tell you, that's why I love having you on here. And it's for other people to listen and hear is you had a family. You had a job, you had other stuff, and you, for example, had every excuse and every reason not to do it. And I always just tell people, I made a post about this the other day, is our excuses just don't serve us anymore, right? And you can have them and they are valid, right? For you saying, hey, like we get on a lot of therapist calls and they're like, or nurses, and they're like, I can't because I have a kid or I have 3 kids. And I understand it. Trust me, I get it. But it's like, but is that going to help you, right? Because that's only hurting you. And what we talk about is I usually tell people when you make a decision, normally, again, whether you want to believe in God, the universe, whatever it is, normally is going to test you within the first month to be like, do you really want this? Because you're going to now make a change, but you're going to be met with resistance. And you already mentioned, not to get too much into it, but you had a massive thing come into your life and a process that came into your life while you were doing this, while you were working, while you're married, while you have kids, but you still were able to make time to make it happen. And now go through the grunt work and go through the hard part of just a short amount of time to now be on the other side of it, where you can be like, that might have been a little rough, but now I can smile and be like, okay, I understand it and I survived it, so we're good. But I just say that because I want to encourage somebody out there of like, holy camole, mother, wife, married, like kids, all the stuff, bringing in another kid. Like there was every excuse for you not to be able to do this. And so I just want to say I'm proud of you because like that's amazing. But second off is I would love for you to just share a little more in detail what that kind of process was for you to finally make that jump. Because I know you said, hey, I was thinking about making the jump. It was this, I have the process, but like just most nurses, I always make a joke when I get on a call with them. I'm like, they think they quit their job that day. And I'm like, no, you still got to go to work and you still got to go make money. And like, you're doing this on the side, right? Like all this stuff. But it's that decision to finally do it plus all the other stuff. Can you kind of tell me about your process of what you had to go through to be like, okay, I do have kids. Like I am working full time. Like I am doing this, but I do want to do this. Like, can you kind of just explain that process for yourself?
For me, and kind of like you talked about before, just having that debt from OT school. And then, life happens along the way. We buy a house, we buy cars, we buy whatever.
Yep.
The amount of hours that I was putting in to make the financial, to make it work for our family was just completely crushing my work-life balance. I was never getting to be home with my family. I was always at work, always putting in extra hours, overtime, weekends, on call, whatever they needed. I was there just because we needed the money. It was rough. And so, I was just doing all this research on med device, and I had listened to your whole podcast years ago.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I went and I kind of interviewed a couple different med device companies, or the startup classes, really, just to figure out how to get into the industry. And I had to figure out what was going to work best for me, because there's a bunch of different courses out there too, right? So, but the beauty of yours is that you can do it with a full working life schedule, and you can just make it work for wherever you're at in life. You just make it work. I kind of sat my husband down and I was like, this is something that I'm going to do. If we want to get out of this and we want a better life for ourselves, for our family, like this is something that I need to make happen. So I'm really going to need your support on it. It's going to be rough for a little while I'm going through it and while I'm making that transition, but I promise it's going to get better on the other side. And so he's always a little bit like hesitant too. It's something that he knows nothing about.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm just like, please trust me on this. Like, I got this. I got us. We can do this. So I went and I kind of interviewed with a couple different courses, like I said, and this was just the one that I knew I needed to go with because it was going to work. It was going to work for me working full time plus. It was going to work for me taking care of the family at home. And it just really worked. So I just jumped in.
You guys will see, we talk about this all the time. I always make the joke, you've heard me say it a million times. I did not create medical device sales. I did not create courses, but I did create medical device sales courses. We had the first one, and now it's hilarious to see. There's 1,000 human beings who apparently done it. And my most favorite one is the person who's been in for 3 months. They haven't even gone through training, and they're like, let me help you. And I'm like, you got yourself high, like all this stuff. And the reason I'm just sitting here telling you guys this is, let me just, because people will be like, how are you different? All this stuff. A couple things real quick. Number one, I lived it, documented it for 3-4 years, and you've only seen me a top performer, and I didn't have what you were supposed to have. Number one. Number two, put out more free resources and thousands of hours for free just to help you guys. Don't need $1 from you. Don't want $1 from you. We're only here to help you guys. So there's that piece. Everybody else is going to be like, pay me so I can give you all my great tips, right? Like we give you a bunch of great tips. The last piece I want you guys to say, and this is what we really talk about, is if you are just trying to break into medical device sales and get in at 50, 60, 70K and work 100 hours a week, please stay the heck away from us. We do not do that. My program and what we do here at New to Medical Device Sales is we get people hired on average in around 2 months at over 6 figures. That's what we do. We get you hired. Like Lara, we're not doing this podcast. She's over 6 figures. It's amazing. It's awesome. We don't deal with people who want to make under 6 figures because we talk to people all the time who are like, I'm thinking about 50, 60, 70K. I disqualify them from them. So I'm like, you don't think big enough. I don't want to have to take the 3 months to try to change your mindset to just think you should make 100 grand. We only want to work with people who want to make 100 plus starting out to then make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 because we've been able to do it. I've done it. I've been able to live this life. When she says that, if you guys, please go do your research. I will put us up against anybody all day. But again, we do not take a lot of human beings for the fact of we're in the trenches with you. We are helping you get there and making sure that you are actually going to get in that six figures. If you compare us to any other program, let me just sit here and tell you, when's the last time you bought something like so much, took a video, sent it to that person, told them how much you liked it? You never have. You can go onto our website and see hundreds, but you can go all these quote unquote other programs. They don't even have 3. And the last thing I always tell people is, if all I did was break people in at med device sales, do you think I'd have half the testimonial videos? No. We are here for so much more than that, to help you guys in life, to help you guys progress, change your mindset, like all the stuff, right? We're just lucky to do it in medical device sales. Do your research and actually go in, because the last thing I'm going to mention, and then we'll get back into it, is, Lara, you did something that most people don't do. You sat your husband down and you said, hey, I did my research. I need you to trust me, right? The reason I'm saying that is I get on calls all the time with like husbands who are like, yeah, I'm thinking about making this change. I haven't even talked to my wife. And I'm like, that is so irresponsible of you. Like, the fact that you're going to get on a call, waste people's time that are busy, and you haven't even done your proactiveness. It shows like you're a human being we don't want to work with, because if you can't even be proactive to do the steps that we like when we're doing our application process that you guys can see, we do not hide anything. We make it pretty dang clear of what we look for, what we cost, like all the stuff. And it's like, if you can't do the proactiveness, we're going to tell you no. But second off, it's why, just so I can put this out there to all the other programs, welcome to why we crush every single other program, because we have proactive individuals who are really great, who come in and get at over six figures. And y'all are to being like, can I do $400 and just have you change my life? And it's like wondering why you guys get hired at $60,000 and you're working 80 hours a week. And now those are the same people who call me 3 years later and they're like, Jake, been in med device sales for 3 years, haven't even made 84K. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. After helping thousands of people break into medical device sales, we've received a lot of messages of asking for more personalized coaching and mentorship. Our average member breaks in 8.5 weeks at over $105,000. And if you're really interested and really motivated to break into medical device sales, you can click the link below or check out our website at newtomedicaldevicesales.com. See all the testimonial videos of people breaking in with Medtronic at over $170,000, at Abbott, $175,000 as a full line rep. So if you're really excited and also motivated and wanting personalized coaching and mentorship, then go and click the link below, schedule a call, and we'll get you where you want to go. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Some humor so you can hopefully hear it, but like, again, why you will see is like Lara is a professional, came, did the prep work, and then now look at, she went through a program that she felt trusted. And like, what I want everybody to hear from me is she did the work. Right? Everyone comes in, I make sure everyone knows this is not pay me and then I just hand you stuff. It is, you guys are going to come in and do the work because you're doing the job to get the job, because it's why I can sit here with a big old smile and know the money that you just came in at is the least amount of money you're ever going to make, because you now know what to do to go be proactive and be progressive and to go make more money in this industry. And so that's what I love. Now, when it gets into, hey, so we talked about working OT, the hours, it's not adding up, you're in debt, to then I was thinking about med device sales. I knew it was going in. Now, you decided to join the program. We have you in and we're like, hey, let's do it. Now, can I just ask, just for somebody who might be wondering, like, what was your biggest takeaway from our program that you feel like could be just helpful to somebody? Because we always say the network and all this stuff, but like, what did you feel like that interview process was kind of like, or what did you feel like a takeaway that could help somebody? Because again, I just want to continue to help provide value to people.
I mean, the whole course it literally spells it all out. So, and that was the easiest thing to just jump right into. I would network exactly how you explained to do, and I would go and everything literally just happened exactly how you said. And so I would set up meetings and I would set up calls with different hiring managers, different reps, and I would go back and I would listen to the lessons that kind of corresponded with who I was going to meet with, just so it was really fresh in my mind. So I would, come knowledgeable as a professional so I could present myself well to hopefully just continue to further on that process and to get myself into the industry. It's kind of funny that you say that though, because your whole process I now use in my like day-to-day life. Right. So
it's crazy. Like we say, do the job to get the job so you can be successful in the job, huh?
It is. And it's not some like big extravagant thing that like takes a long time, but like, so I brought my notebook too, because like being in the hospital all the time, like I couldn't really carry a laptop to make a spreadsheet or anything to keep track of who I'm talking to. So I would just jot it all down. I went through, this is my second notebook, actually. I went through a whole notebook,
love it,
jotting things down, who I talked to, when I talked to them.
This is why I smile, because again, like my whole thing is like I tell people, it's not just to help you guys in breaking into medical device sales. I'm thankful that's the space we're in, but like my whole goal is to help change your guys' life, because just transparently, I can go start any company and be like, do you want to get hired at over $150,000 here? We can help you do it, because we know the roles. The guy I was literally on a call with today has exited 3 companies, all over $30 million. It's like, we're working with those individuals. We talk to them. We know what it is. So it's like us developing people that can go do that kind of stuff. Right. But the reason I'm just saying that is what you said is a huge piece, because also what people don't understand is like the people who are gonna listen to this for free and be like, okay, so I take out the notebook and then I need to write this down and then I do this. It's like, great. Now what do you do with that data?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, well, okay, you said reach out. Okay, so do I reach out? Okay, how long? When do you reach out? What do you say to them? When are you going to say? Like, this is what people don't understand, because what we always have a talk about, and you and I have had this in depth, is language is everything. One word in sales can ruin or make a deal. One word, literally. And what people don't understand is that's what they miss, is they're like, okay, so you told me to get data. Okay, I got data. I got names, hiring managers, numbers, all this stuff. Then it's like, well, what do you say to them? Oh my gosh, well, what do I say to them? And then they're like, okay, I found the message to say to them. And it's like, okay, great. Now you're on a conversation for 30 minutes with them. And they ask you the 3 questions. How do you answer? Well, what do you mean? How am I supposed? Yeah, well, I think it. And then it's all these people shooting from the hips, right? And the reason I'm just saying this and why I smile is you said it. Hey, it was done to a T of what you said it is because, guys, like, this is my biggest thing for mentorship and coaching and helping people. You shouldn't just go to people who tell you they can do it. You shouldn't even go to people who just have done it, right? I could have done it, but if I can't coach it, that doesn't benefit you at all. It just benefits me that I did it. And the reason I'm saying that is with us, why we put all the testimonials, we put the names, you can see them. And like, we do the free podcast for you all to see is I've literally helped thousands. This isn't a guesswork with me. I've done it, and we know do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you will get A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the only human beings, because again, everyone's like, well, do you have 100% in your course? Well, first off, if anyone ever says they have 100%, they have never worked with a human being in their life. So no, nobody has 100%. And if they do say they have 100%, run the other way for the love of God. But number 2 is, the only people I ever see who struggle is like, for example, I just had a conversation with one of the students, like, hasn't logged in 4 weeks. Hasn't been on any of the calls that we do, hasn't done whatever. And that's, I'll be just transparent with everybody. The hardest part of this program and us helping people is we deal with human beings who have under $100,000 mindset. They are stuck in making 50, 60, 70, 80K. And let me just make it really clear, at 50, 60, 70, 80, 100K, you're replaceable. You don't have any special skills because you can be replaced, and somebody can come in. And this is going to hurt like PTs and OTs and people like that. There's thousands of students going to school for what you're doing right now. They can replace you. You quit, you go take another job promotion, they will find a new one within 2 to 3 weeks. That can hurt the ego. That can hurt that you spend all this money. That's great. But again, it's just the truth. And so the reason I'm just sitting here telling you is why Lara is like now making well over that. And she's only going to make over that is because what we do is not only help you guys break into medical device sales, but it's what I've told you guys is do the job to get the job, to change the mindset to be, how do you know you're worth 150,000? How do you know you're worth 200, 300,000? Because just a little tip to everyone, you will never make 300 grand if you don't think you can make 300 grand. If I say 300 grand and you giggle at it, which we have people do all the time, that's when I know they'll never make $300,000. And now what's my job is to be like, okay, let's get you to where you can do that. Because we've had people come in with no experience at $175,000 first year, and their OTE is uncapped. They'll do over 200. We drill you guys to go take jobs at 250, and you have to believe you are. Hence why you can go get these jobs and come over at 6 figures. That's the biggest piece of this is it's not rocket science, but it's what do you say? How do you say it? What do you do? When do you do it? Like it's what I tell you guys all the time. We can play music or we can play notes. That doesn't mean it makes music. All of you guys are like playing a bunch of guitars, but you're playing some notes, but it's not in harmony. It's not at the right time. It's not on the right beat. And so it never makes a beautiful song. And that's what people miss. And so you do a great job at it. Now, I want to actually go back to your OT background, and I want to see, what do you feel like, because you went through the interview process and people were impressed by it, but you just had to know how to tell your story about it, right? What do you feel with your occupational therapy background helped you stand out in this process to get those offers?
Well, I've definitely had some unique experiences, especially being military and moving around, and just the connections that I've gotten to build with physicians and with the patients in general. That definitely helped a lot. Mm-hmm. and everybody that I talked to really told me, like, you have a great background, you're definitely going to make it, all of these things. And that's kind of what I wanted to circle back to as well. PTs, OTs, SLPs, nurses, we're so motivated and really hardworking people, but no matter how much effort and work we put in, it doesn't quite matter, especially if you're salary or you're hourly or, it really doesn't matter. So just being able to portray how motivated and driven I was and to kind of shape that into how I would be a good fit in that specific company, in med device in general, that's what I think really helped.
And I think one thing I want you to kind of just talk on is because this is what I tell everybody, talk is cheap, right? Everyone tells me you guys are like, again, they all say you have a great background. Oh, PT, OT, SLP. Like we have a PT right now who like the guy's like, oh, you would fit a clinical specialist role, right? But then all of you guys that are on the other side of this are going to be like, well, I'm a hard worker. Great. What have you done to show that? Oh, I'm organized. Great. What have you done to show that? Like, again, it's us teaching you guys to do the job, to get the job, because it's what just so you guys know, and then I want you to talk about it a little bit, Lara, is like my final interview, like just so you guys know, when somebody tells me, oh, I lost out to somebody with more experience, you want to know why I know that's not true? Every job I got, I was the least experienced human being. The people I beat out for the full line rep at Medtronic or the regional sales manager where you're not supposed to be there in under 10 years, and I did it with under 2, right? The guys I went up against had, like my coworkers were 34 and 42. I was 27, right? The reason I'm sitting here telling you, and just so you guys know, was the top performer on that team. So take your age and throw it out the window. I sat there in my final interview for that regional sales manager role, and I said, hey, I can sit here and tell you whatever you want to hear. I'm in sales. You're in sales. That's what you want to hear. I can tell you I can grow this territory to $1 million, $2 million in a year. Great. But hopefully you guys all understand talk is cheap. I can tell you whatever it is, but it doesn't mean anything. But hopefully through this process, I've shown you that I do what I say I'm going to do, that I've shown you that I will do the work that's required. And if you don't believe I have, please don't hire me, because that's not going to be a good look for you. And the reason I'm saying that, Lara, I want you to kind of talk about it, because you can even talk about a little, some of the stuff you did, but like, I just want people to know is like, you guys are all OTs, PTs, SLPs, nurses. You all have the clinical experience. You've all worked with people. You all had that. That's great. Guess what? Y'all work hard. Great. We all know you work hard. But what makes you different than the other OT? What makes you different than the other nurse? What makes you different than the OT with sales experience? Right? That's what you guys miss. And so, Lara, can you kind of just speak to it? Like, you had a great background. That's no doubt about that. It's how'd you kind of show that? Like, what were some of the things that you feel like you did to really show that you were going to be a great asset to a team, not just tell you were going to be a good asset?
Well, I reached out to like over 200 people, I think I counted at the end of it. And by doing that, I was really kind of taking your advice and interviewing those people. And there's hundreds of different divisions in med device. So just kind of deciding what path I really wanted to go, what was going to work for me and my family, because like, can't be a trauma rep, can't be a spine rep. Like, that's just not going to work for me. So really just interviewing those people and those companies to kind of decide what was going to be a good fit for me. And then I kind of narrowed it down. And then from there, I really just immersed myself in all of the clinical data and everything about the specific companies that I wanted to pursue and to interview with, just so I had really, really good knowledge, because I know from my OT background, the anatomy, the physiology, all of the clinical stuff, but then putting it into application as to how it's going to work, how I'm going to be a good fit, because now I've done all of this research. I know a lot about your company. I know a lot about the device. And here's why I'm going to be a really good fit here. And I literally just kind of, like you said in your course, like, I had 2 companies at the end that were like trying to buy me lunch, trying to take me out, like trying to steal me, just fighting over me.
You were the pretty girl at the dance that they all wanted to dance
I
with.
made it happen.
Come on.
But it kind of came out of nowhere from one company too. Like, I just happened to reach out because that was a company that it was in a division I wanted to be in. And a rep reached out and was like, hey, I don't have a clinical, but I want you to be my clinical. And I was like, me?
Yeah. Oh, are you sure? Tell me why. Please give me some details. Yeah.
Tell me about it. Yeah. But it was because I did the work. Like I said, I totally immersed myself in those divisions, in the research to get that job.
Yep. And the thing I just want you guys to hear in that is like, you'll hear 200 people. First off, most people reach out to me after 3 or 7 and they're like, it's not working. I'm like, well, no kidding. Right. But the other thing I have to put out there for people as well is you can go copy 200 people right now and you still won't get the results. And why I have to put that out there is because of this. First off, everybody's trying to do it the free way. Guys, I hope my stuff works and it does it the free way for you. But what I can sit here and tell you is the difference between rich people and poor people is poor people ask how much, rich people ask what's my return. And the reason I'm saying that to you all, you've heard me say it on Budget Podcast, but the reason I'm saying that to everybody is because you can reach out to 200 people, but if you don't know what to say, you don't know what questions to ask them, you don't know how to carry yourself on a call, you don't know how to close, you don't know how to like all the other stuff, you're not getting the results that Lara got. Right. And you're not showing up the way she showed up. And then this is what people miss is then because she does such a great job by after 20, 30, 40 calls, she not only knows what she's talking about, she actually can talk peer to peer. And now she can actually have those conversations. And let me just make this really dang clear. The reason we get people hired at over 6 figures, it's not because they're asking, so what do you like about your job? So what do you think? Like, what do you think I should do? Right. It's not those simple questions that you all doing. Like when people write at me and they're like I've had regional managers or just so you know, VP of sales organizations that are massive companies be like, you telling you can get people hired at over 6 figures is dangerous. Well, first off, it's not dangerous, Bill, because the whole reason I'm telling you that is because you guys are the same people that hire people at $55,000, go have them work 80 hours a week, and then don't even give them any promotions after 1 or 2 or 3 years. They get stressed out, burnt out, and then they don't even want to be in med device sales when that's just such a small piece of this world. But second off is because you're also hiring the human beings who reached out to you out of random to the hiring manager or the VP and just say, can you give me a job? That's a low level $50,000 person. We don't produce those human beings. We have people who are like, we've had people go take jobs for 175 grand full line reps with companies like Abbott right away because they saw, holy moly, this person could get slotted in and crush it. Just this morning, I'm talking with the CEO of a med device company. And he's like, dude, you guys have been able to produce ABC. We see it. Can we actually start sending you human beings that we get? And there's all that. I'm not going into that right now, but the reason I'm just sitting here telling you guys that is that's the difference. And so when Lara says she did the work and she reached out to 200 people, you have to understand that's a lot of work. But what most people miss is just the reps, the calls isn't enough. It's no different than basketball. You know, I know guys that were just as tall as me, but they weighed just as much and we had very similar stats, right? But the difference was I didn't have enough money to go get a coach and a mentor, and I'd spend 6 hours or 3 hours at the gym. I'd watch a YouTube video in and out, in and out, in and out. And then the one time I go work with one trainer, what I had been doing in 3 or 4 months of the work, I realized was all wrong. Even though I was doing the in and out, I didn't get my hand all the way over to then be able to get the shoulders to the position that I got to get the defender to move to then be able to pull back and create the space. Why do I go in that basketball analogy? It's no different than this. We can tell you to reach out to 200 reps. We can tell you to get in the interviews. We can tell you, but if you don't know exactly what to do and how to do it in the moment to do it, welcome to the people that we talk to who've reached out to 200 human beings, but they haven't even got a second round interview. And then they reach out to me after 6, 8, 12 months, hitting their head against the wall. And they're like, I know I can do this, but I might be doing something wrong. And then my easy answer to all of you, just so you know, is you're 1,000% doing something wrong. Because if you weren't, you'd already be hired, right? So the reason I'm saying that, but Lara, I appreciate you saying that because you did the work with the family and did all the stuff, but that's what we talk about is you have to embody the work, right? Like this is it, because it goes back to my whole thing. It was not easy what you went through over the last several months. But because you did the hard thing in the short amount of time, the rest of your life, not just a piece of it, the rest of your life is going to benefit from it. And you now have skill sets that I always make everybody really well aware why we have so many testimonials is you will get a 10x. You already did first off in the first couple months, but I make our programs to get you 100x return on investment, right? And when people hear that, they're like, what are you talking about, Jacob? That's almost impossible. It's like, no, when I was in med device sales in my first year, I did over 200K. And you stay and you tell me this is a career in an industry, and if you guys stayed in it, let's just say, for example, you only made 100 grand, which our average is 105, but let's just say you made 100 grand and you did that for 10 years because you want to make this a career. Holy cremoli, that's $1 million. And if you looked at, oh, I only put this much money in, would you pay $10,000 to make $1 million? Just so you know, most people will be like, well, and that's why you're poor. Because it goes into Poor people ask how much and think emotionally. Rich people ask, what's my return, and think logically. And so the reason I'm just saying that is that's why I'm so proud of you, is because you had every excuse to say no. You had debt, you had marriage, you had been moving, you had family, you had stuff to come in, and you just said, we're going to make it happen. And then you made it happen before 2025. And now here we are, and you're just living your best life, and you're crushing it already, and things are going well. So I just want to tell you how proud I am of you.
Thank you so much. And that was my goal all along. I joined in August and I said, my personal goal is to get a job before Christmas. And my hire date was December 9th. So here we are.
Absolutely crushed it. And the thing I want you guys to hear about that is the last thing to all of this is we understand not everyone's good. Our average is 2 months, right? 8.5 weeks. But again, when you're married, have kids, work a full-time job, guess what? You're not always able to do all that. But what the beautiful part is where you're at is you now only came in, got really good offers, made really good money, and you hit the goal. And that's why I just hope everyone hears from me is everyone's on their own different journey. I always just tell you guys, and I'll just say it here, I usually wait till you guys are in the program, but I'll just tell you all right here. Y'all see me say 8.5 weeks and y'all are like, oh my God, I have to come in and I have to beat that. And I'm like, well, you don't have to. You guys all want to, but like the beautiful part of why we get people hired so highly is all the other human beings that are coming, you guys all come off desperate. Our people aren't desperate. They don't need a job. They want a job. They're going to do the stuff that they have to do to get the job. Right. And so that's my advice. Now, the last thing I always like to end stuff with is you're going to have a bunch of people reach out to you. I tell every human being that comes on this podcast, for the love of God, please don't respond to anybody. And the reason I tell you that is because, let me hear it just so you guys know, it is my job to protect our people to go be successful in med device sales. And Lara invested in herself and she did all the stuff that she needed to go in. And you know what my goal for her is in the first 6 months? To crush it in her first 6 months. And getting on a call with a bunch of people who won't listen to more than 1 or 2 or 3 podcasts and then just be like, give me all the free advice. And I know, and let me just have you guys hear this so you guys can all hear how you do it. Hey, Lara, I know you paid lots of money and you invested in it and you took the risk, but I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be a leech. And I want you to take 30 minutes out of your time to just give me all the free information that you paid for and you invested in and you did it, but just give it to me for free because you should just be a nice person. And if you don't, I'm going to be mad at you. And then lastly, half the time, I'm not even going to say thank you because I'm such a selfish human being. So just so you know, we all know who you are because we watch them every time. But the reason I'm just sitting here telling you that is that's why I tell these people don't. Because again, here's the thing. You want free advice? We have 230 plus free episodes. There you go, my friends. Oh, you want to get in and you want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars? But Jacob, that you cost money. Yeah, it's called return on investment. It's called knowing your worth and all this stuff. And if you guys aren't willing to invest in you, let me just keep it real quick and then we'll go to the question is why all of you are broke and why you aren't where you are. You all keep trying to do the free way to try to get in. And let's just say you get in after 8 months at $64,000 and then you work there for 2 years. And like the guy I just talked to who's been in for 3 years and doesn't even make 85 grand. So he's wasted 3 years of his life and never made 85K. Lara, as you guys just heard, did 3 months of trying to break in and now is already making well over what that guy makes. And she's been in for 2 weeks. And guess what? I can guarantee you in 2 years, she will make 4 times what he's making because she invested, because she sees the return on investment. The reason why all of you guys stay broke and why you aren't where you want to do is because you keep trying to do it the free way, trying to figure it out so you can have the ego to tell people you did it by yourself, to then not know. And the last thing I always tell you is just understand every top athlete you know and every top mentor and a business person you know, they have mentors doing it because every single person knows they can make more money. They know they just can't get time back, AKA why a bunch of rich people have private jets and drivers and all this stuff. They can pay that, make more money, but they can't get that day back. They can't get those 4 hours back. But y'all are okay spending 8, 10, 12 months to try to go get a job of 70K, 80K and lose a bunch of stuff than actually just investing it and make it back. Because the last thing I always tell people is if you want to make $100,000 every month, that's $8,333. Every month you're not making that. Let's just say you make $5,000 a month. That means every month you're missing $3,333. You times that by 3, you just wasted $10,000 in 3 months by not getting to the goal that you wanted to. But again, the poor person mindset will not think that way. And again, why can I say this? My sister lives off wealth. My family members live off welfare. And we have people who struggle through all that. And I've come with $1,200 to my name. I know what it's like to be broke, and I know what it takes to switch it. So just trying to put some free information out to help you. But going back to it, Lara, you're going to have people, sales experience, no sales experience, a lot of OTs, SLPs, nurses, PTs, that are going to be like, holy cramoly, you did it. You came in at 6 figures. It's amazing. You came through all this adversity. What's your advice to someone like me?
You got to jump in and do it. And so going through this, I actually experienced a little bit of like imposter syndrome, right? So I had all of these people that I was talking with tell me, oh, you have great background. You're going to be really good in this industry. But then it like didn't get any further sometimes. And so I was like, okay, if you're telling me this, like, let me in. Like, how do I get there? And then you kind of start second guessing yourself, like, do I actually have the skills to do this? Can I really do this? I would drive to work. I would listen to the course on my drive to work. So everything was really fresh. So I would make those connections while I was at work. And then during my lunch break, I just would go for walks around the hospital and I would listen to some of your old podcasts, the free ones. And that was kind of what gave me that reassurance of like, yes, I can do this. I just needed that. So I needed kind of the back and forth. I don't know. That's totally off topic of what the
just
question was. But
just so you know, like it's not. And let me just tell you why. It's when you're wanting to do this, you have to do things that are out of your comfort zone, because the number one thing I'll just sit here and tell you is I get on calls with people and people are like, we'll talk about the program and what we do and the investment it costs and all this stuff. And they're like, well, I'm not comfortable sometimes. And a lot of people will tell me I'm not comfortable with that. And I say, perfect. I don't want you to be comfortable, because comfortable has got you exactly where you're at today. Yeah. What people miss is the comfortability is where you guys are all like, oh, I want to be comfortable. Like I say this, and again, hear my heart. I say it in the most respectful way. If you don't have $20,000 to your name that you can just pay 5, 10 grand and not think about it, you're broke. You're broke. And I don't mean that, because here's the whole thing. Because you can go talk to the guy I was just talking about and he can drop $50,000 and it doesn't change his life. He's not broke. So you can feel however you want. You can be pissed off that I said that. You can be mad at me for saying that, but it's just the reality and the truth, and hence Uncle Jacob just coming at you. And so the reality of what I'm just saying to you all is you have to make a decision, right? Because everyone always talks to me about comfortability, but guess what? Like, for example, when I'm in fitness and doing stuff, I don't get abs by eating donuts and burgers, even though I wish I could. It's uncomfortable to go run. It's uncomfortable to work out for an hour. It's uncomfortable to drink water instead of pop. It's like all the stuff, but you have to do it. And it's no different here. What has gotten you here was the comfortability of everything you've done to your life. And that's why you're in debt. It's why you don't make as much money as you want. It's why you're not in the career you want. Just so you guys know, it's also why you're not fulfilled. Every single person I get on a call with is, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm doing what I should be doing. I want to help people make a difference. I want to make more money. I want to have the freedom that I know I can have. But then you all tell me your dreams and hopes and goals. And then the poor person mindset thinks emotionally, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't work? What if it all blah, 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 all the what ifs. And then you all stay there. And I sit here and say, I get to watch people stay broke and poor every single day because they can't get over the emotional, because they would rather feel more comfortable of being in the same exact misery that they're living and then blame everybody else, or see somebody who makes 200 grand and be like, oh, that person must be a horrible human being, or what they must have slept their way to the top, or whatever excuse people use, instead of just being like, dang, I'm not living up to my full potential, because if I'm only making this much money, it's because I only have the skill set to do that. And that's the thing I had to learn is I used to tell people I was going to make $100,000. And then after about the third year of only making 60K, I was like, I'm not as good as I think I am. And then I actually went and bought a mentorship who was doing that. And guess what? Holy cramoly, the next year, guess who made well over that? With you, just so you know, we all face an imposter syndrome. We all are like, are we doing it? Just so you guys know, every once in a while, I'm like, do I really help people break into medical device sales? And then like, right, we're on this thing. I actually just got a call. One of our guys who has an associate degree, who's a nurse, just got 2 job offers from Boston and Abbott, and he's coming in at 6 figures. Like, and then I'm like, oh yeah, no, we do this. We do it every day, and I have thousands of people to show for it. But you'll still be like, is this right? Right? It's no different than when I was the rep. And so to the advice, what you said is like, when you're like, hey, I kind of went off. No, you didn't. You're telling people you actually have to put yourself in really uncomfortable situations and go for it, because the comfortability that you all are seeking is what's keeping you poor. It's keeping you broke. And take all the money out of it. It's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you unfulfilled. It's keeping you not happy. But if you would just be okay, like she said, for being uncomfortable for what, 3 months, your now whole life is changed for the rest of your life. And the best part is, because I will just say this to all the SLPs, nurses, OTs, PTs, they're always like, you guys are the most emotional and you already spent $100,000 to be in debt to make zero money. But that's not the point here. Is the whole conversation is you guys play all the what ifs of like, but what if I do it and I don't like it? You can go get your exact same job back. Or if you can't get that exact same job, you could go to a hospital across the street and get it. And guess what? You might even just make more money because you were staying at the same place for 2 years and they didn't give you the inflation that it was supposed to come with. And now the going rate's higher. Or the last thing I'll say to that is, or you went and got more business acumen, you learned new skills, and you can actually go to a different position that might have you work less and make more, right? And so the reason I'm just saying that is why we're successful, why you're successful, why our program and our company and everything's successful is I learned really quick when I was broke. I watched everybody that I was around, all the poor people making under hundreds of thousands of dollars, all the broke people, they always do what ifs, but they think about the negative what ifs. And I never forget, everybody told me I was crazy, but I only kept telling them, what if it works? What if I made a podcast and people listened? What if I actually got into med device sales and was successful? Got in. What if I took this low performing territory and I was a top 10 performer? It happened. And it just goes in. But what most people will do is they'll be like the violin, Eeyore, play the victim. And so that's what you can't do. And so Lara, I just, again, want to just tell you, I'm so proud of you. It is absolutely amazing to watch you live the life you do now. And I just want to, like, any other tips, any last things that you can give to our listeners? Are you saying, good God, just go do it?
Just go do it. It's the best. It was, just like you said, like a little uncomfortable just because I had a good job. I was doing okay. So, nothing to laugh at. OT was great, but I knew that I wanted better for myself. I wanted better work-life balance. I wanted us in a better financial situation. I was uncomfortable for 2.5 months and now it's amazing. So just go do it and you can make it happen. You can make it happen with no matter what is going on in your life. You can do it.
I'm so proud of you. I just want to just say thank you for taking time. I know you're busy. I know you're in between cases and doing all your stuff, especially in training, but I just want to say proud of you. You are why we do what we do. And there's nothing better than watching you come in, bet on you, and go from making ends meet to now being able to go and do a lot more things from there and have a better work-life balance and be with your family. And you guys, if you want this, just so you know, you can always schedule a call with me and the team. We're always happy to answer any questions. I just do want you guys to know we get a lot of applications nowadays. As you guys found us, lots of other people have found us. We're now working with med device companies. There's a lot of fun, exciting things in the works for us here at Newton Medical Device Sales. We only deal with people who want to make six figures, who want to make a difference in their life, who are going to come in and do the work. If you're a person who's like, I want to window shop, I want to think, go watch the 200 plus episodes. And if you're somebody who's just going to talk about money, focus on the money, just so you guys know, you're talking to a guy who is broke as heck. I know what it's like, but you have to look at the investment. And if you always just say, I'm going to take the cheapest option, welcome to the difference of, going to Dollar General and going to Target, right? 2 different options, 2 different products, 2 different outcomes, and 2 different experiences. And then also my thing that we're different here at Newton Medical Device Sales is we're actually coaching you to make sure you're successful in the program, because the last thing I'm going to sit here and tell you when you look at all these other programs, they'll tell you, oh, go get a job. And then they get you placed and they will never talk to you ever again because they just wanted some money. But for us, crazy enough, we keep working with you guys. So we make sure you guys have success, and holy moly, it only makes our company look better. And then the companies want to even work with us even more. And crazy how it all works out. But it's just business 101 and being really helpful to other people. And so I just want you guys to know, if this was helpful to you, press like and subscribe. If you guys know an occupational therapist, a speech language pathologist, a nurse, or a physical therapist, please send them this episode. If you guys want to talk more about what we can do to help you achieve your goals, please click the link below or reach us at Newton Medical Device Sales. But until the next time, go after your goals. No matter what background you have, you can break into medical device sales and you can come in at over 6 figures. You just have to know what to do and do it the right way. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.